So this was your week to pick, and what did you pick then, Robert?
The Dam Busters.
We're not... how many times have I said it's not a fucking mecha? Dude, Dam Busters is not a mecha.
Prove me wrong.
Don't have giant robots in it. Do it.
Shut your whore mouth. Where do you even start with 8th MS Team? Because, like, it doesn't have a plot. Okay, fine. There's a slight plot, which doesn't matter.
I think it's pretty easy to make a start with 8th MS Team. It's like, yo, guys, you know that whole Vietnam War thing? We liked that, but we thought that it could be improved with giant robots. So... Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team, was a show that began airing in January 1996, and like we said, it's largely a Vietnam but with mechs scenario. It's pretty hype. It ain't me starts playing, and it basically don't stop playing for the entire of the show, except when they're in space and the Ukraine, because that's not really Vietnam. Or
Cheeky. It kind of follows the plot of the later plot of Gundam, like 0079. So like it follows the same major conflict battles that they face.
Yeah, just in different areas and different circumstances, but it's a cool take on all the cool space battles and fucking magical space boy shenanigans that was going on in the main Gundam 079.
Insert Ron Perlman reference here for War is comfy.
So yes, a series overview, if you would not mind, Mr. Robert. Do tell us the general shenanigans that goes on in this here show.
Shiro Amada wants to be a cool dude, so he becomes a cool dude. Meets a cool chick, but she's ZEON. Pretty much the rest of the plot is kind of that, but like with different pal situations. The one thing I will say about the series is it has 2 original mecha designs in it, which is the Goof that's in it is redesigned from the original Gundam. It's got extras on it that looks cool as fuck. It's also one of the first models I ever made was the Goof from this series.
Is that the one that Norris flies?
Yes.
That was a cool looking mech.
And the Absolus is the only other original mech. So there's not much mecha designs. The GM is redesigned multiple times in the series, but it's all just paint jobs, and they're really cool paint jobs. But like the 8th MS Team have a separate one to this MS Team. The snipers at the end are coloured different colours, and all their weapons are different. Oh, and then they add on an extra episode where after the plot ends that adds in some bullshit.
That's completely pointless. Don't fucking watch it.
It's not even like pointless. It's like, have you watched the recent series of Twin Peaks, the new one?
The first couple episodes, yes.
Okay. Did you get to the broom sweeping scene? You'll know if you've got there.
No.
This is not a spoiler or anything at all, but there's a bit of a Twin Peaks episode which is literally 2 minutes of a room being swept with a broom. That had more point than this fucking episode.
This was a series that had 2 directors, because the first chap, Takayuki Kanda, who was an Ultraman co-director, also directed Metal Armor Draganar. Yeah, I think I said that right. He died in a car crash, possibly whilst drunk, which sucks. So a guy called Umanosuke Ida took over. He was the writer and director of 2 Devilman films. He also did a lot of storyboarding for Cowboy Bebop and The Big O, so some good chops on him. He took over from episode 7 onwards. They've actually got some really good art direction. When I was researching like the team behind this and looking into sort of the people who made it, they've got the art director Shigemi Ikeda, I think I'm saying that right, who's an Emmy awarded art director who's also worked on Afro Samurai, My Hero Academia, Macross, and like a whole bunch of Gundam. He's done a lot of Gundam shows. We've not talked about the characters, and we often forget to do that, but this was a show where the characters really stood out, so I think it's actually worth talking about them. When you look at the art direction of the show and just like the character design and stuff as well, it's a really nice and varied range of characters that you get. They don't all look the fucking same. There's quite a bit of range with what you've got, which can really help characterize the cast a bit more. It helps you kind of differentiate everyone and figure out who everyone is. One thing I really liked about Shiro's character is because he was this like hotshot space pilot and clearly kicked ass flying a mech in space. But when he initially comes down to do ground combat, he's completely thrown off by, oh fuck, there's gravity and stuff to play with here. I little details like that are really, really nice. And it also shows you, yeah, this guy is actually pretty good at, you know, the whole mech combat thing, because he very quickly adapts to the situation he finds himself in. But it's still a cool detail that they didn't necessarily need to include. He could have just been the best, which is what a lot of anime shows do. But he actually has to go, oh fuck, I've got to figure this out. Anyway, who else we've got? We've got Karen as well, who is best girl, obviously.
Yeah, I suppose. Despite looking like a bloke. Has a bloke's face.
Some dudes are into the muscly girls, dude. Is
Dave's
all I'm saying.
Gay. There's Elidor, who's just shitposting, for lack of a better word.
Massive fuckboy. Probably the only character who I found mildly annoying was Mikkel, because he's just such a bitch.
Yeah.
Just such a bitch. Although even then, they do some cool things with him, actually. To be fair, even my least favorite character in the show, I can still go, yeah, he still had some cool moments, which is telling for a show. It's like, I do not like this character, but I still enjoyed some moments that this character had. And then finally, we've got Kiki, who is Gorilla Grill, who is in the jungles leading the insurrection against ZEON. They still managed to find episodes where they... Again, this is a short series. It's only 11, 12 episodes, but they still managed to find the times where they can take an episode and actually put some time into developing the side characters as well, like Sanders and him getting over his conviction that he's somehow cursed and he causes his teammates to get killed, Mikkel getting over the fact that he's a bitch and his space girlfriend doesn't like him. There's a whole episode that largely has a lot of ramifications for Kiki as well, where she finds herself basically left in charge of the whole insurrection in South Asia because her dad goes and gets blown up by Zaku's. So for a show as short as this, you think it would like want to just focus entirely on the core relationship between Shiro and Aina, but they still find the time to develop their side characters a bit, which I really appreciate, because the side characters are what kept me going with this show.
Other than Eldor's dumb fucking storyline with the whole, I'm writing a song that's like never mentioned, brought up in one episode, and then it's brought up later on when he's like in hospital and he's like, I requested my own song, lads, and it's just like... Okay.
You're such a fuckboy. Again, though, that's a nice wee way of sort of developing his character. Like, he is the sort of guy... They specifically say it as well. It's like, yeah, Elidor is the kind of guy who would request his own song on the radio.
Yeah, they're all unique other than Guineas, is that his name?
Yeah, villainous science man.
Who becomes Ozymandias. Like, this just rips off the Watchmen. Like, me and my scientist pals, we've made the Apolis. Kill all of them.
I really liked the way in which they set him up as the villain, because initially it was looking like your man Admiral Yuri is like swanning in and like trying to sex up the sister and stuff, and it's like, okay, cool, you're the villain then, obviously. And then later on down the line, he turns out to be quite this honorable, decent dude who really cares about his soldiers. The reveal of Guineas as the villain was done really, really well, because it literally has him, in revealing himself to be the villain, killing the person who you thought was gonna be the villain. It's like, that's a good twist. I like this twist. This is a fun twist.
I think that's a problem with you not having watched Gundam there, is that's not really a twist, because all the ZEON guys are like that. They're all honourable men fighting for bad dudes, basically.
Yeah, I suppose. Initially, the way they set Guineas up, he seemed like kind of a sympathetic character, and then for them to spin it about the way they did, I enjoyed that. That was fun. Especially when he sort of comes sauntering out of the bit where he's murdered all of the fucking scientists and then just drops a grenade behind him. It's like, alright, cool. I'm digging this new look, Guineas. This is cool. Nothing personal, kid. Cool, guys. Do not look at explosions.
Whilst you were studying fucking being a faggot, I was studying the grenade.
I think the last thing that we really need to talk about in terms of the characters would be the relationship between our man Shiro and our girl Aina, who are kind of the two core characters, the two main characters of this show. Because once again, it's a Gundam series that has a fucking romance plot halfway through all the dope mech battles, because they seem to have a thing for doing that.
All Mecha does.
Why? I just want to watch cool robots fight each other. What I will say is, at least initially, the whole relationship between Shiro and Aina wasn't as bad as I was expecting, because the one thing you warned me going into this is like, it's another shitty romance thing, and so I expected it to be really bad from the start, but like the initial moment where they first meet and it's them fighting and then kind of having to throw in the towel on the fight so that they can survive together. I really like that dynamic. That was really interesting watching that, because again, it's something that Gundam does really well, kind of show the morality of both sides of their core conflict. It's later on down the line where they suddenly just start throwing in the "I know, I love you" stuff. It's like, what are you doing, mate?
It's
Stop.
Trash.
I feel like with a little bit more time to develop the relationship between the two, it would have felt slightly less contrived. As it was, though, it was just kind of suddenly him going from I've kind of got a bit of a crush on that girl whose watch I still have to I'm in love with you. It's like, whoa, mate, like,
chill.
Fuck, maybe like take her out for coffee or something first. I don't fucking know, man. This fuck. Shiro has no chill. So, stuff that we liked about this here series. Go.
Norris. Yeah, 8th MS Team is some really good, what's the word I want to use? Like, battle design within it. Like, it's not just like your standard mecha show is like, I have a sword but also a gun, and I use the sword for the cool kills against the bad guys.
We will stand opposite each other, and then the main character will scream and will run his robot at the other robot, and there will be a dope fight, and that's the end of the fight.
Plus, 8th MS Team has fire team tactics with mechs, as well as like ambushes, sword fights, the whole firing, running on the move in the battles and stuff.
They do an awful lot for a show that is supposed to be just general grunts doing grunt stuff in Vietnam, but with mechs.
And Norris's whole fucking scene is my dick the whole way through.
There's at least one pretty decent fight scene with mechs every episode. If not, there's probably something else kind of cool going on instead. But it doesn't bore you. There's episode 10, I want to say, which is just the giant fight with Norris, which obviously is just gorgeous, just delicious. Gorge yourself upon it.
I think it's one of the best pre-modern Gundam fights, because like I can't think of any other Gundam fight that sticks in my head as much, other than more modern stuff like from say fucking Unicorn and stuff. Unicorn has some fucking hype fights.
But when you consider the fact that this is all before the time where CG was something that you could rely upon as a crutch, and you have to have like the skill of your animation team, that has to be so good to be able to make this work. And how many great fight scenes and just great pieces of cinematography and framing and just great sequences. It's you could geek out about it so much. Even the details like the mecha snipers.
Yeah.
Those are so cool. I was geeking out when they were on scene. It's like, what the fuck is this? Oh man.
Well, it's even the things like when Norris is firing his minigun to create fucking smoke clouds so he can get closer and stuff. It's little things like that that's just my dick tier.
Yeah, like brilliantly choreographed. Like we were talking about it a wee bit earlier, but it's not just a simple case with this show of going, there are two sides who have giant robots, and the giant robots shoot at each other, and one side wins. They do all of this clever shit with their mechs and the limitations of the show, because again, they are trying to be regular goofballs in fucking Mecha Vietnam, but they have so many clever ideas to twist up the fights that just lovely.
Well, it's all the whole like GM stuff. Fucking all the mechs are fucking hyping this, to be honest. And yeah, because like the one thing you even see is like the use of the fucking gun tank in a cool fucking way, because the gun tank's kind of a joke in Gundam.
Yeah, but they use it really well in this, because again, they kind of use the whole Kursk tactics where you've buried it slightly so that the guys approaching can't see it, and so they can just light up the enemy lines as they come forward into a good position. It's a really, really grounded show in that real tradition that Tomino was trying to create with this series. It's meant to feel like a very realistic take on what a war with giant robots might be like. I really like the feel of the military bases in the show. Like it really felt like that it was, you know, a bunch of guys slumming it in the jungles of Asia, which is not necessarily something you would always associate with a show about giant robots punching and shooting the fuck out of each other. So it helps to lend to that whole grounded sense that the show is going for. It's clearly taking a lot of cues from the whole Vietnam War thing with, you know, disorderly soldiers running about getting drunk in bars and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. But then in the context of Gundam, the Federation is losing at this point. So like, this is the end of the world for these soldiers. You know, there is no command. They're fucked.
You get a real sense of it being quite fatalistic in their outlook. like they're all just kind of living for the day, and they're not really sure what's coming along next. And then you have idealistic fuckboys like Shiro sort of wandering around going, "Come on, guys, we're gonna fix it." It's like, no, I'm getting drunk. Fuck you.
Fuck this. It ain't me. Plays louder. It's like the whole showing that they have fucking names for the Saku as well. They're calling them like Zeeks and all that, and Cyclops and stuff.
Yeah, again, part of that, they've clearly put a bit of time into reading up on war memoirs and sort of accounts and films like that, where soldiers just come up with nicknames for fucking everything. So they are throwing around jargon and stuff that feels realistic and not younglings. But it's all trying to be a realistic military force in 8th MS team, whilst like in Gundam and Zeta Gundam it's all like ragtag rebels, whilst in 8th MS team it's an army. I've watched enough Gundam shows now to really say it's kind of a staple of their whole series, where they kind of show the heroes and villains of both sides. There's not really one side where it's like the Federation are the good guys and the ZEON are the bad guys. With this show, there are good people on both sides and also assholes on both sides. It's just an automata, because like I think a lot of Gundam's setting is all based around how the Japanese self-defense force works. So that's why there's a lot of fucking people getting their fucking heads kicked in by officers. Or just kicking each other's heads in because they're bored. And I still like the way they ended out episode 11, where it's just the silhouette of the two of them kind of limping through the door off somewhere, and you're not entirely sure where, but that's just where they kind of left it. Yeah. That was a really nice final touch that they could have like ended it on, and it would have been a really good series. And instead they decided that they were going to do episode 12, but I'll rant about that in a minute. For the sake of trying to pretend to be fair and balanced and objective, we should probably talk about the negatives a bit. So, anything that stuck out for you as being a bit shite? The only thing I don't like is the love story. One of the things I think Gundam's really shit at doing is like the whole, we need to do this romance plot. But why? Are you sure about that? Why? Stop. There's one thing I don't like that 8th MS team doesn't really show. You know the fight with all the guerrillas and they're attacking and they're able to use the handheld weapons and it works well against. That sort of stuff's good. But there's a scene in, I think it's Zeta Gundam, but like in 8th MS team, you know the mechs are firing away and you can see the shell casings coming off and they're not affecting the civilians on the ground. Think of the size of those shell casings inside those tanks. And then, so like, I'm sure it's Zeta Gundam. There's a scene where like a woman who's carrying a baby gets killed by a fucking falling shell casing. It's like, this is edgier than 8th MS team, and this is like... That's pretty good, actually. That's kind of funny. You could probably play that for laughs, or you could go full edgy and have a woman and child crushed by it. I suppose that's your call. There's a couple points where the animation was a bit funny for me. Like, there was a particular scene where Aina looked like she had a fucking giraffe neck going on. It was like this massive neck, and then this tiny head stuck on top of it. It's like, what happened here? The art director is an Emmy awarded man. Like, what are you doing, mate? It's probably one of them things with the whole director dying and also all being, I'm fairly certain this is hand drawn. Yeah, no, it's one of those things, I suppose, with older animation. You just kind of have to throw your hands up and go, quality. Yeah, fair enough, bit of a goof. Other than that, the only thing that I can really, really jostle my jimmies about when it comes to this show is episode 12 and how it shouldn't fucking exist, because it's totally pointless. Just, oh my god. Like, when I think about what they could have done instead of that final fucking episode, like maybe some more time where we have some dope mecha battles, or a bit more time with the characters that I really enjoy. Like, I would have loved to have seen a bit more screen time for Karen. She's one of the characters who didn't really get as much behind her, and it would have been really interesting to see a bit more screen time with her. Like, you could have had a whole episode devoted to that, or a wee bit more time developing the sort of the core team. Instead, we get Kiki and Mikkel fucking about in the jungle with some weird space kids, and that's it. There is an entire fucking 24 minutes of my life that I am never going to get back from that fucking last episode that was completely meaningless and added absolutely nothing to the story. It ended so well already, is the part that really annoyed me. Yeah, like, there was a perfectly decent finale and a little sort of teaser as to, oh, maybe they are okay, we don't know, and it's like, I'm fine there. Just leave it there. I don't need to know anymore. Leave it to my imagination as to what might happen next. Nope, we're just gonna take two of the most boring characters, and now it's all about them for this whole episode. Why do you do this to me? to conclude then, since we are
To the conclusion.
to the conclusion, all I really will say is, for a standalone bit of Gundam, this is one of my favorite ones I've watched so far, and I've watched a few now. I'm getting a bit more well versed with the whole Gundam mecha shenanigans. I love how grounded the show feels. I love how well realized and diverse the characters are, in the sense of how they're all got their own unique quirks and backstories and things going on for them. I like the twists and the turns that the show takes. I don't despise the romance as much as I thought I would, and whoever is responsible for making episode 12 a thing needs to be tried in The Hague.
It's just a really good show. Just go fucking watch it already. Stop listening to fucking two retards talking about it. Just go watch it. Fuck off. Unsubscribe.
Do we need a funny outro? Robert, do a funny outro. Robert.
Postman Pat, and his black and white cat.
Fuck you, YouTube copyright. See you in hell.